one.
Good evening to all. Thank you for coming to the meeting of 6 p.m. on December the 4th of the EDIC committee meeting. Mike, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance,
Sure.
please?
Thank you, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And by the way, the chairman is going to state that the movie Injustice for All by Al Pacino was a great movie in the 80s. So if you ever want to find it, you won't be disappointed. What a great story. Public comment. I don't see a lot of public, but I do see Ian. Does Ian have a public comment? Or Hannah, you are part of the public. You are also TCTV, and we appreciate your service. If we don't have any comment, public comment members, I'm going to quickly, I wanted to do a written report. Sorry, folks, I get a little too busy at work. I'm going to do it quickly, verbally. I'm probably going to touch on each item here, which is what I try to do. But under 3 chairman's report, so I did go to the Board of Selectmen meeting 3 times, late October into, I believe, late November, on the issue of the economic development grant that came to the town. And to deal with the procurement of consultants, as we have talked about for the last X number of months, and to move procurement forward and then toward contracting, and then to have the select board then sign the contracts and then allow us all to move forward with some consulting in legal area and market assessment services, and then some civil engineering services. So that was the subject of those 3 meetings. Other topics were raised by the Board of Selectmen. I'm not going to say anything more on that. There was a lot of time spent on other subjects, and I'll get to that in just a second or two. I just want to give you a heads up, though, that the quotes that I issued for legal services, for market assessment services, and for civil engineering will come in this Friday at 5. I believe Friday is the 6th at 5 p.m. And then we'll review them at our Monday, December 9th meeting at 6 p.m. when, as of 12:01 a.m. that day, I'll turn 61. So it's a monumental day for a lot of different things. I want to go right into item 3A just as a report, and then we can go back and talk about the stuff. I skipped over minutes by accident. I'm so sorry. Okay, if we can go back to that, my apologies.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of 11/4/24.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes, corrections, edits by anybody? Just in case. No, I didn't see anything. So I think we're okay. So is there, I'm sorry, Mike, you gave us the first, and then who seconded? Was it Steve? I just want to try to make initials here, Mike. And then Steve, that was item 1. To accept minutes. Any further discussion? There really wasn't any. All those in favor, Vicky? Steve?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'll make it unanimous at around whatever time it is. I'll defer.
1802.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mike. 3A, resignation of a member. Liz Toth has resigned. She called me a week or 2 ago and said she was going to. The issue of the legal opinion obtained by the Board of Selectmen concerning the EDIC status and that we're not a corporation, we're a committee. Fine, she feels compelled to say she's just not as comfortable being on now, but she is asking if once we are finally got the economic development plan done and the dust has settled on that issue, that she'd like to be considered by the Board of Selectmen to come back. And quite frankly, I just want to say, you know, I mean, I'd love to have her back. I mean, I think she added a lot of value to the EDIC committee.
Yeah, I mean, we've been meeting quite a bit, so thank her for her time that she did a lot for us.
Yeah. And I really should pen a letter. I'll probably send it to Lori through you guys, any edits. And we are over that. I have the EDIC, I have Liz Toth's resignation letter here if you want me to read it. If you don't, either way, I'm fine. It doesn't matter. You'll see it eventually. So, but I'm happy to read it. Any preference either way?
I would like to read it, but I don't have a preference if you read it out loud.
That's anybody else? I mean, I'm happy just to get it into the minutes or not. It doesn't really matter to me, guys. Preference? No preference? Then I'll just shovel it. If there's no like overwhelming desire, then I'll just set it aside. So that's the highlight of that. I highlighted already item 4 that at the 3 members of the Board of Selectmen that I attended, There were 3 issues there. One was raised about the legality of the EDIC. Is it still is it a corporation yet? They reached out to town council. Town council issued a letter, which I'm told indicates that the EDIC is not yet a corporation. So the Board of Selectmen considers us a committee. Please note that at the opening, I said EDIC committee. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a way to proceed right now and just to move on. We're all problem solvers. I think we want to address things and move forward. We can come back to that for discussion. I just wanted to give you a heads up as to what happened, okay? Item 5, just continuing with the report, contract for the economic development planning between Commonwealth and Templeton Select Board and all vendors consultants. That's why I went to the Board of Selectmen on. There was a great deal of, I tried to educate the Board of Selectmen as best I could that they are in charge of the grant. At the first meeting of 3 meetings, there was a member who indicated that in December of 22 or in December of 23, I don't remember, that the Board of Selectmen said, EDIC, you're in charge of everything, go do it. My contention, as I shared with you prior, the Select Board signed the contract with the state. They have to sign contracts with the vendors. By the 3rd meeting, which I believe was a Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago, the Board of Selectmen, I believe, understood that. And the procurement that ideally will be completed by this Friday at 5. And if we get quotes for the 3 areas in which we're seeking quotes, that I can then go back to a meeting, I think it's January 8th, to put the procurement in front of them, the bids, the numbers, draft contracts, and say, okay, it's time to sign contracts with people. So that's the status of the grant as far as the contract goes.
Sorry, what's the date of the next?
I think it's January 8th. I'm going to go back
great.
to the Board of Selectmen, and ideally we'll have all the numbers and draft contracts, which you know, I write contracts all the time. It's not a problem, but I have a standard boilerplate. I'm not going to talk much about 6 or 7. Mike had emailed us prior about a proposed MOA between Templeton and the EDIC. And then I proposed one, at least it's not drafted yet, but I proposed the concept of just for grant management, an MOA between EDIC, the corporation. But now that we're a committee, you know, is this stuff even relevant? I'm going to ask for comments actually right now. So as far as I'm concerned, folks, all these are very directly or indirectly related. So I'd rather not go through and tick off everything and then, oh my God, we can't go back and talk to them. But I'm going to try to do some checklisting here. So we've done the minutes. We did public comment. I gave you a report. We talked about the resignation of Liz. Again, thank you, Liz, for your service. Deeply appreciated. Any comments about legal opinion, item number 4 of Town Council of EDIC? Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, please.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
So under the legal opinion, you know, whatever we're calling ourselves or whatever the interpretation of what has come this far, because the Board of Selectmen or the Select Board appoints us, I would like to get guidance from them on how to proceed. If we're appointed by them and we've got a legal opinion that says you've got a couple other things to do. Now, I will point out that legal opinion said, in order to get completely certified, you've got to do, it has a list of 4 things. Part of that is a comprehensive local economic development plan. I don't know how you get that without actually being able to do some work for it.
Right.
So, and a name is a name is a name. I understand that. I understand what the legal determination, but I would really like for the Select Board to discuss and give us direction on how to proceed. You know, there is a lot of work to do. There is money on the table. Whoever is in you know, whoever it's allotted to or how it's going to be. I'd rather just, if there's question on whether this committee, corporation, group exists, I would like their direction. Not a split vote, or, you know, like you said,
Right.
you know, they felt better about calling it a committee, but they didn't take a vote, as far as I understand. And we got to figure out, you know, how I'm going to, you know, that can be a discussion for the board. I'm hindering you rather than helping you. I do, you know, I've drafted a lot of documents. I have a very good perspective, but if I have to keep recusing and I'm clunky to how you guys need to move, I think we should talk through that. Whether I stay, you know, stay in the fight, or I resign and I'm able to be an advocate on the board side.
Can I just say, just to cut to the chase, that
Yeah.
I don't think you need to recuse yourself unless an attorney says something to the contrary, and I'm open, no problem. But as I always viewed it, I presumed, I know what happens when I assume that the Board of Selectmen's intent of appointing a member from the Board of Selectmen to the EDIC committee or EDIC in the future is to provide communication and liaison. I mean, and shouldn't you be able to talk? It's a democracy last time I checked. So unless there's a conflict of interest under the state ethics law, I would defer to that. Then I get it. You have to recuse. No problem. But if
I'm put here by the board.
I don't see
think
you as
that's
an
another-
impediment.
I mean, the board can also vote to rescind.
Right. Right.
You know, I want, if we are moving and our wheels are spinning too fast, then the entity that created us, I think, needs to be able to say, we will put the brakes on for you, rather than us fumbling over definitions and legal reviews, trying to put our cart before the horse. Let the board make, say, you know what, we're gonna rearrange it and we're gonna do reappointments based on this, or we're gonna amend the 2017 document and with the same spirit and otherwise, and call you a committee.
By a board vote.
Understanding
By a
that,
Board of Selectmen vote, though, which I
Exactly.
think is prudent for them to do.
I
I think
agree.
if we correspond with them and say,
Yep,
okay, please amend that, or nullify and say we are a committee,
Yeah.
EDIC committee, add the C at the end, fine. But they didn't do that at the last meeting that I
Yeah.
was at. They just said, okay, you're a committee. Thank you very much. But if they could just bless
They need to
that
take-
that way,
yeah,
take the action and point us.
the 2017
others.
document, I think it's a good document, and if the legal opinion is that doesn't get you across a finish line, it does not give you the right to call yourself a corporation, all right, then what does, yeah, and you've got a town meeting vote that's in the midst of this.
Right.
Hey, select board, what do you want us to do?
Right.
Again, I'm serving because the board appointed me to this, whether, I'd have to go back into the minutes or otherwise, whether I was like, oh, pick me.
Right.
But I'm doing it because they have appointed me to that. They
Right.
can rescind that appointment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do both.
Mhm.
I'm trying to do a good job doing both.
Right.
And in my research to see what other communities have done as far as economic development, there's a variety of different ways.
Yes.
In my view, Templeton tried to do 121C. Other communities, it's committees. Sometimes they're appointed, sometimes I don't think I saw any elected, but there's a variety of different ways communities tackle that problem.
Mhm.
Whether they want to go through this entire certification process where you have to provide documents that, in addition to statistics showing substantial unemployment. And we made declarations in the 2017. I don't think
Right.
we based it on a mountain of evidence that said, "Ooh, we got a problem." We need something to address chronic unemployment or the lack of development. You're sitting on how many different
Yeah. I need,
corporate
yeah.
I'm saying, let's go back to the board. Let them say, well, how do you want to proceed if there is such a question of existence?
Mhm. So can we keep it simple and just correspond with them and write a simple letter or an email that says,
Mhm.
if you believe we're a committee per your comment at the most recent X date meeting in November, we respectfully request that you appoint us officially as a committee, and whether we're this people serving or others, please advise us.
Yeah.
Something like that. Would that
In
be?
good faith, rather. again,
Yes, in
and
good
get-
faith.
And not trying to say, well, you did it wrong and we want people hanging out in front of town hall. That's not the point here. The point here is
Right.
to be able to move forward addressing economic development. I know that's, you speak of it very spiritedly and every time we talk through these things. So I definitely understand, Steve, what you're bringing to the table to say, I got ideas. And we don't have yet the vehicle to be able to harness some of the great things that you've come up with. You've done a lot of work. I've written a lot of memos. We've had a lot of good conversations, but now let's in earnest say, what do you want us to do?
Mhm. Okay. It's about 2 sentences or 3 sentences.
Yeah.
And I think I'll take that sentiment and just literally email Adam tomorrow saying, it was the sentiment that we just respectfully request the board to appoint the EDIC committee please let us know if you're going to appoint the people before they're in the chair or not officially. And that vote would allow us to say, okay, we're committee officially, now it's rock and
Yeah.
roll.
They don't have to throw the
Okay.
baby out with the bathwater either.
Right.
They can take a
Right.
look at that 2017 document and say, how can we amend this? If they've
Okay,
already,
excellent point.
yeah,
That's another
they've
sentence.
already, I
Thanks.
mean, they passed it in 2017. This gives the current board the ability to say the intent of this was good.
Right.
It went completely, off the rails in terms of everyone trying to figure out, do you exist or not exist? And
Right.
what do you do in the interim for that? The last page of the legal opinion, I know that we're still talking about that.
Yeah,
It
go ahead.
says, therefore, the powers afforded to EDICs under statute are not yet available to the EDIC, including the power to transact business. That's why the board has got to say, what do you want us to do? As a committee of the board, if that's what they choose to do,
Right.
that money was given to the town.
Right.
I think we've gotten through that language of it was obligated because it was ARPA money given to the state, and the state said by special acts of 2022, we're obligating it because
Right.
by statute, we're gonna parse it out. Town still got it. Town can execute it. If they need help, great.
Which I will share was very difficult message to get through to the Board of Selectmen in those 3 meetings. Was to tell them that they're in charge of the contract. And when I finally not finally, I don't mean to imply I didn't get it right away, but I asked either Adam or Lori because I had the attachment A, which had the budget, and that's what I shared with you good people. But when I got a PDF of the whole contract and saw your name on it, it's like, okay, well, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen signed a contract with the state. It's just that simple. It's your contract. And there was a lot of time spent by the Board of Selectmen on that issue about, well, you're in charge of that. No, you are. So can we move on to that?
Yeah.
Can we get over that
I
hurdle?
I want to do the right thing. I want to do
Yeah.
good work.
Yes.
And I'm not passing the buck by saying, well, I serve at the pleasure of the board's appointment. There's a public comment
Oh,
that,
Thanks.
that says, Mike speaking to this being a selectman is a conflict of interest. That's exactly the point.
mhm.
Let's get the board's opinion and say, how do you want to proceed?
I would say to all of us and the person that made the comment, where's the conflict? What is the conflict? And someone should cite the conflict and under the state ethics law. Because if there is a conflict, to your earlier point, and I'm happy, like I said earlier, 5 minutes ago, I'm happy to be wrong. If there is a conflict, then yeah, you're gonna need to recuse yourself. Which brings up the other issue that the Board of Selectmen kept bringing up for those 3 meetings, and it was not on the agenda of their meeting. Notice that, why were you appointed? Well, I was a member of the Board of Selectmen, not like her. I was a member of the Board of Selectmen appointed. Well, you did it. So you folks could go to your own minutes and figure it out. If you, the Board of Selectmen feels that was, something that should not have been done, or it was done in good faith or whatever, then that's your homework. It's not ours. But we will follow up.
Yeah. I'll do whatever I can to be able
Thank
to get, through that, to answer questions like
Yeah.
that public one or otherwise, but I really think the board needs to be able to look at it and say, if we're all believing that you created it and, town council said you at least started the right way,
Mhm.
all right, board, what direction do you want us to take?
Exactly. So we'll correspond.
And do your appointments still align with what your vision is?
Yes.
Given that couple page document.
Please bless us as a committee. Please bless the members. It's really a 50-word request. And I will say also about the conflict of interest law. It is at least 90% of the conflict of interest law is about if there is a financial interest. Someone's a public official, an employee, and then they're also providing contractual services to the town. Where there's a financial interest of both, that's when you have to either disclose it ahead of time, or you say that you can't do it, or you can if you're designated as a special municipal employee. So I think what happens in Massachusetts is people are sometimes right when they say, hey, that's wrong. And they're well grounded in law. And then others.
It has the appearance of being.
Right, and it could be the parents, and the parents could, but I think when people make an accusation like that, we all need to take it seriously.
Mhm.
But ask the person, party, and us making the accusation and researching what's right and wrong. we have to ground this in, well, what is the real issue that's the conflict? There's no financial conflict of interest here.
Hmm.
So when you're not in conflict of the ethics statute because you don't even get paid by the Board of Selectmen, do you? We used to get paid. Do you guys get
No,
paid?
we
You get a
we
stipend?
yeah, there's
We
a
don't get paid for being here.
stipend.
So there's no financial conflict.
Yeah.
So we know that is untrue. If there's another conflict, then someone should cite it. And then we'll address it. And then we'll do some research and see if I don't know what the conflict is that someone's saying. So let's figure it out
Yeah, I
because
mean,
no
we're-
one wants to
we're
violate the
trying-
law.
We're, you know, we gotta get guidance.
And so the sooner we can get our lawyer to work under the grant and be paid for, not necessarily, it's the town's lawyer under the grant to provide services for this grant for the purposes of economic development and related to EDIC, give us guidance so we can do things right.
Yeah.
Because if we had that lawyer here tonight, we could say, you know, could you go research a conflict of interest law, the ethics statute, and give us guidance, 'cause that's what we need.
I wouldn't even, I would rather just take action and do my own research and.
And go for it.
A
Thanks.
lot of times you can call, it happens
Yes.
with everything. You call and you speak to someone.
Right.
You actually sign up for an appointment right online.
A lawyer for the day program. I called several months ago, and I filed the disclosure.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's
That's
for
exactly right.
MRPC and so on and so, because that's what you do.
Yep.
So, and even so.
And they keep records of everything.
They keep, yes, exactly. So I filed with the town clerk, I filed with my own agency, it's in my personnel file. I filed with you guys, so there's a copy in Lori's office, but you know, you have to do things properly. So we take those issues very seriously.
Glenn, I had one other thing.
Shoot, go ahead.
So in this, the legal determination, I'm quoting this part just to make a point. I am attempting to contact someone at EOED, determine what documentation the department would need to see to certify Templeton.
Mhm.
And then it follows with a lot of the examples of these things,
Mhm.
the data, the metrics, the
That's the
certified.
copy and paste out of the statute.
Right, so, but even I am attempting to contact someone, so
Right.
we're still operating in this. I think it's this, or it could be that,
It's a
but
little
there's
gray, it
no,
sounds.
yeah. So again.
Yeah.
If we need to get back on track with that. Having that department's, EOHLC.
Yes, sir.
That should be the paramount concern to be able to say,
Hmm.
what do you do need to get certified? In the interim, the board needs to tell us. Again, it's my opinion that the board needs to be able to say, we created you, we're gonna give you guidance on how to proceed,
Yep.
and this is what you're gonna call yourself.
Yep.
So that we don't wind up confusing the public.
Anything else on the legal opinion by you or any other? Steve, please, go ahead.
No, I just have a comment and a question. So on the third page of this, the number 3, they say a comprehensive local economic development plan,
Yeah.
which you kind of questioned before. I thought that was always the plan, and aren't we
It is the plan.
contract, or not?
You gotta work to get it.
contracted?
Mhm.
Yeah,
You,
but-
you four. when
we're
I
gonna
left the
have
room,
an economic development plan done
Yes.
by MRPC.
Yes, sir.
And the target date, I think, is around March to get it ready for annual town meeting.
It's never gonna be done by March. It's gonna
Oh.
take 6 to 9 months. But
All right, well, let's.
it'll be done within the grant term of the state grant between.
But I thought that was always, I remember this before, I thought
Yeah.
that was always a plan that we
Yeah.
couldn't get actual certification until we had that to the state.
And that's the final tick on the spreadsheet,
Anyways.
list of things to do.
And my
Yeah.
question is, now I know that there's no December 31st deadline that we're rushing for. Is there a deadline for us to spend the money or to have the contracts done?
June
The-
2026.
Yeah, June 2026. I'm gonna paraphrase the 1 or 2 sentences, have all contracts and expenditures done by June 30, 2026. So technically, and when I talked to, was it Mr. Harrington, the contracts manager? For, economic development
I
office
know
of the
who you
state?
mean, though.
Yeah, it's Joe or Joseph, I don't remember, but anyway, Mr. Harrington said, you know, that December 31 deadline applied to the state to get its contracts with the communities done. And then Lori and I misinterpreted an email from Mr. Harrington months ago, because we thought we had to do the December
Yeah.
31, so that resolves that issue. But we have to get all this stuff done. If we want to spend the $200,000, we gotta do it by June 30, 2026.
It has to be
Bottom
spent.
line, expended, not committed,
26, not 25.
not 25, it's
Okay.
26. It's a
All right,
very.
I just want to make sure.
That's a very key date. Now, I need to back up and explain further. I'm so sorry, Steve. The March date was the original target between conversations between these members here on this side with the two different staff that came from MRPC to say, well, let's get this done. And they're reaching ready to get, they've been wanting to get going for a while. And then I had to do my financial disclosure. And then it took 3 meetings to do one thing, so things have happened that have delayed that. And it could take 6 to 9 months to write and do the plan, no less than 6 and no more than 9. So from the contract, let's say I go to the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 8th for the 3 quotes plus the signage plus the ED plan. I said, here's 5 contracts, his numbers, and they all fit under the $200,000. If on January 8th, the Board of Selectmen approves the signature of all 5, and if the chairman of the board signs that night or the week later or whatever, so let's call it January 15th for the ED plan, add 6 to 9 months. Let's just say 9 months. Okay. So you're into, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So if there's a town meeting, a special in next November, you'd be looking at a special town meeting to get the ED plan adopted by the town meeting. Okay. So that's what that schedule would look like, Steve. Theoretically, May of 2026. And then we're certified in May or June or July of 2026. But the grant can pay for the stuff to be done. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure some towns have taken 5 to 10 years to do their plan. We don't want to take that amount of time. We have money, we want to get it done. You've already taken a vote with me out of the room to engage an agency to do that. So that's in the minutes, that's in the books, you're all set to go. I think now it's just a matter of assembling the contract to proceed. But the Board of Selectmen have to take that vote to do so.
Okay, that's all I have.
Sure. Vicky, any on this item, legal opinion of town council, you're good? Okay,
I think I'm good.
okay, all right. Are we all good? Do we want to go on to 5, contract between Commonwealth, Templeton Select Board and Vendors Consultants? So I mentioned it in my director's report and said, director's report, whatever I am, I'm a committee member. I'm a committee member. I think I'm the chairman. Right now, I'm not quite sure. But right now, the reality is that I already said what I needed to say. I think the Templeton Board of Selectmen understands it has the authority to sign contracts. I'm pretty sure they understand that, and that will hopefully resolve the stuff on January 8th. I don't know how the Board of Selectmen operates. They know what's coming. They'll have all materials well in advance, 7 to 14 days in advance, draft contracts and so on and so forth. Will they actually read them and take them and say on that 8th that, okay, we've read these, or will they defer to another meeting 2 weeks later on what's 8 and 14 is 22 on January 20? I don't know. So Mike, can you enlighten us on, do you think if we present draft contracts before the 8th, let's say December 31, that when the Board of Selectmen meets on the 8th, that it would authorize contracts, or does it need another meeting to do something? Based on past experience of how it operates.
My feeling is if the board has to become aligned with, they're not going to vote on anything in the positive unless they understand that that's just my opinion based on what, I recused myself and I sat out in the hall.
Yeah. But I mean, institutional.
I don't think they're gonna vote for anything. I would think.
Okay.
It doesn't.
And that's fine. We just want
It
to get a
doesn't
sense.
preclude you from asking to have it on there.
Mhm.
I just don't, I think that they are going to want to get beyond. What do we do, how are they interpreting the 2017? What is the existence of?
Okay, then that's gonna be very.
If they change it and they
frustrating,
say, you know what, now, we're taking a vote to make it a committee where, they could vote, they could reappoint otherwise,
Sure,
because I'm part of that discussion of
yes,
it.
yes,
And then they could say, now that we got that out of the way, Glenn, we're voting to do everything that you asked us to do, because everything is at least
Yeah.
moving in accordance with the legal opinion to say, what do you need to do in order to be able to set yourself up for certification?
I just want to state for the record that signing contracts under the grant has absolutely nothing to do with our existence or non-existence. If we never existed,
I got.
if Adam went to there and said, we got to sign these contracts so we can use the money for the ED planning, that's the only issue. And
I would proceed with that. I just,
I'm-
you asked my.
no, I want that. And I'm not, trust me, my concern is not targeted at you as an individual or as a member of the BOS. It is when I went to 3 meetings and they talked about these issues that weren't on the agenda, and I went in there to talk about management of our grant,
Mhm.
and that's was the only issue on the agenda, all we were there about. And I want to say that the sooner they can resolve appointing us at the committee and all that stuff. Great, but they are different issues. And if the Board of Selectmen continues bluntly to muddy the waters between those two, they are different issues. And
Yeah.
if they want to discuss that, then I hope they put it on their agenda for
Perfect.
January 8th. I hope that they do. Because they are separate. If we had never met, if we had never done anything for 7 years, and if you'd still gotten a grant, then it would really be, Adam, with you guys having this conversation. So it's really a separate issue. So, okay.
I think, again, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
My estimation, we would want to settle the question of the EDIC
Mhm.
first before, whether it's linked or not linked,
Right.
be able, if they get that out of the way and say, we're now have a clear conscience and we'll.
They'll feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I respect that. Thank you. That's why I'm asking you
Yep.
because, and again, I don't think you have a conflict. We need to have communication and liaison.
I think they need to talk about it.
Okay. So we all said, are we all set on the contract, legal opinion, of the contract? Number 5, we all set on that? Okay, fine. 6, proposed memorandum of agreement between Templeton. So Mike, you drafted an MOU between an economic and industrial corporation and the town of Templeton as a municipal corporation. And that's a draft. I put under item 7. When I saw your draft, I thought this is great. But when I saw it in the context of after the first or second meeting with the Board of Selectmen, and my opinion was this is going to take a long time to negotiate and get done.
Yep.
But now if we're just a committee, do we need an a memorandum of agreement? Because we work for them. They're our bosses.
Sure.
So Mike, but you wrote it, so I want you to talk about
You
this.
well, I mean, I wrote it so we would have, what's the term I'm looking for? We would have rules of engagement.
Yes.
We would be able to understand, as appointed members of can I say it, certified?
You can say
Corporation.
anything you want.
Certified
This is a
corporation.
democracy. Go ahead.
When that happens, that we would have, rules of engagement on how, what things do we pay for,
Mhm.
lawyer in services or otherwise.
Great.
Understanding that it's a town-created corporation designed to do something, and it's got, all the legalese that's in 121C. I think that document then becomes that makes sense. Like, we know how we're interacting, and then let the board, chew on that to be able to say, no, we'd like to see a bylaw for it. No, or that's an agreement between us and the EDIC.
Right.
I just had proposed language for that.
Right. And I want to say objectively that I think it's a good idea for 2 legal entities. You have one that's legal, this other one's going to be legal someday. It's a good idea to have kind of a marriage contract.
Sure.
It's not a bad idea. Flip side of the coin, I'm going to contradict what I just said. It's not necessary, but it's a good business practice to have a contract with another organization, especially when you're going to work closely. I am disenchanted by the meetings that I had. So I'm looking forward to better days. We can say
It
that.
sets
And
sets
I'm hoping-
expectations.
It does, and I thought it
and
was well
predictability.
drafted. I really do. I am of 2 opinions on the issue of, because I just want to,
Yeah.
I want to work and just get things done.
Yeah.
I think we all do, just want to move forward.
When we pull it back off the shelf, there is some language in there. I know that you guys had discussions on how Adam plays onto this in terms of what his contract. So I'd have to take a look back in there, because I think he was a lot of the full-time, he's the full-time equivalent. He's speaking on behalf in the day-to-day person. I'd like to revisit that just to make sure it meets the legal intent of the TA working.
Well, I learned a lot about that contract the first time I met with the Board of Selectmen, meeting
Yep.
1 of 3. When Mr. Bennett said, he quoted from the contract that he can only work up to a certain percent or 5 hours a week on other stuff or whatever the language says. And for the record, I want to state that at that meeting and going forward, the EDIC, once it becomes an official corporation, it's its own legal entity. We're not looking for this member of whatever I'm a member of this committee right now, hopefully the corporation future. I'm not looking for the town administrator to spend 40 hours a week or 5 hours a week on this. Even it might be a 30-minute lunch every month, because it's called communication. It's all about communication and making sure that we're on the same page about things. I'm regretting putting Adam's name on the procurement documents because I thought things worked differently here. Like you could just kind of like do things and I thought he was the chief procurement officer. So, but anyway, I
Your
get it.
next,
I get it.
Your next, I mean, item 7, I think that's a really good direction to be able to consider how,
Mhm.
if we're to identify our inputs and outputs with the community, the grant management and, Graceland, I believe she just passed all of her MPPC.
MCPPOs,
Yes.
Mass
So
Certified
that-
Public
that
Procurement Official
may-
Certification. Yes, sir.
That may be a good relationship when we're considering, she's a
Yeah.
town employee, whereas Adam is
Yeah.
contract.
Right.
So.
Right.
I think that's great that you're already thinking forward.
Well,
As they say in the
yeah.
army, you're leaning forward in the foxhole.
leaning forward in the foxhole. I felt like I was in the foxhole. But my head was up a few times when it shouldn't have been.
Okay.
Why I did that
Mm.
was because I really did. As I was shared your draft MOA, I was of two minds. I've already stated what my two minds were. And I didn't really think that we'd be able to negotiate and get something like that done in a reasonable amount of time. Having said that, and then I thought, well, there's this grant we have to administer. We should be working cooperatively. Maybe we can use a grant management agreement as kind of a test case. We're working together to say, okay, this is your responsibility. This is ours. We'll do the procurement and prepare paperwork, and then you guys we'll educate you, and then you sign contracts. And so I was thinking if we do something simple, it's really all now should be tabled. There's a Latin term I can't come up with, and that Vicky would probably know a lot better than me. But the reality is that table it, set it aside because it's no longer relevant right now because we're a committee, we're not the corporation. But I think at the right time, let's bring these back up. Yeah, sure. Any other comments on, because it's like Mike and I are having a conversation tonight. I want to make sure that you, Vicky, and you, Steve, are making sure that you're involved here. And I do feel bad about that. So.
No, I completely agree. There's no need for the MOU right now.
Okay.
Or the MOA.
Anything
Great.
else, Steve? Okay, you're all set. Anything else on 6 and 7? Excuse me, proposed memorandum agreement, this.
But thank you, Mike, for drafting it, and it will be
Yeah,
useful.
not to keep quoting army stuff, but they have like, operational plans. I feel like we're putting it on the shelf for when we're ready to go, and then we can pull it back down and dust it off, look at the language or otherwise.
Well said. Well said.
We're
Great,
all too
great.
eager, I guess, is the theme from tonight.
I think we're all leaning forward in the foxhole. I think we all just want to move forward.
Yep.
Let's go take the hill. The last item, excuse me, there are 3 items left. 8 is board member comments and then a signage update. Steve, will you want to do a signage update? And then we can go to board member comments if people
Sure.
have.
I mean, just
It's an
briefly,
open conversation.
just briefly, because, we were running around when we thought the deadline was December 31st and trying to get stuff done. So, I did meet per this, board's recommendation with the historical commission on the town common and putting like a multi-directional, a MASH style sign there. They were receptive to it in around the location where the yard signs are. And
With the what signs are? I'm sorry.
the lawn signs that people put out at the
Drive
corner
through, They're
of,
right on that corner.
Oh,
the
okay.
corner
Thank you.
of Patriots Road and Dudley.
Thank you. That's in Dudley. All right.
So, however, there, one member proposed rather than a multi-directional sign, the way that we had shown them, the Westminster example with kind of the MASH style
Yeah.
sign, to do like a triangular
Mhm,
sign.
mhm.
And I don't know if you've seen those outside. I haven't had time to really research it for exterior sign. I've seen them at trade shows and things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So, but this is something that we can bring them to a meeting,
Okay.
or have a meeting with them and discuss, what the various options are, but
Sure.
they were receptive to it. I think I told this board earlier, the Recreation Commission was receptive to signage at the small park in front of Cumberland Farms in Baldwinville, where the Pedo Casey.
Yeah,
Memorial
the
is.
the triangular village green there.
Right.
Yeah, up beyond the War Memorial Village Green.
Right, and
Yes,
did not
yes.
think, the common itself there was appropriate. And each corner of that triangular common is just polluted with state signs. So good luck even
The
getting.
one by
us on.
Cumbies? I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
the
sorry.
Baldwinville Common where they.
Oh,
have
with all
the
with all the vets
memorial
memorials
there.
are, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too crowded with signs to really stand.
Well, there
out.
are little lawn signs that get planted there. Sometimes there's the town's, you know, or amber sign for alerts and so on, for safety.
But I think the good news is the historical commission is receptive
Okay,
and,
that's good.
and
Well,
recreation.
that was nice to hear.
Commission is receptive to signs. Now, you may not recall this, but when we did the RFQ, we decided to do it for goods and services. And we would have to take care of construction
Mhm.
for that. So I spoke with Bob Sozik, DPW, and he said he would be fine with digging holes or forming a pad. We would have to pay the labor. However, the sticking point may be the electrical. So for instance, if we did a digital sign here outside like we were thinking, we have to run electrical from the circuit panel downstairs outside. I talked to Adam this morning about basic procurement pertaining to something like that, and he thought that it could be perceived as splitting the bid.
Right? Okay.
So, I don't know if there are workarounds to that. I spoke with Lori Weeder about possibly asking the electrical inspector.
Mm-hmm.
If he would be willing to do that. We don't expect a positive answer there
Mhm.
or the light department.
Okay.
So what we may have to do is go out to a formal RFP process. So I think as Adam put it, an invitation for bids.
IFB versus what
Yeah.
we did under services to make it because it's more.
Just because you have to include the electrical in it.
If we do a digital sign, yeah. But I don't know too, I was wondering, let's say.
I
you know,
understand how he's saying you're splitting it by doing this and then getting another contractor to do the electrical, but. I don't know.
It's kind of a gray area, I think.
Yep.
When in gray, we want to be careful. Yeah, we do. I mean. for
But
us
I
and
wonder
everybody.
too if, all right, one company gave us a response to it, and I believe Lori has spoken with them and said, it was accepted,
Mhm.
but, be patient because we have to go through some stuff
Right.
first. I wonder if he would subcontract that anyway.
That was my first thought
He's
too.
not,
I
he's
like
not
it.
going to do the electrical himself, and he put it in the quote that
Right.
it would be outsourced. I
That,
think.
that's what he would have done. Absolutely.
So I wonder if that makes a difference.
It would, because then it would all be under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
I think that would make a lot of sense.
I wonder, would we still be able to do that as goods and services?
It's a service.
I don't know, people get stuck up on if you put.
Is it
went-
because it's
You can
considered
have to
construction,
other
is that why it's
companies.
I
different?
think so.
Okay,
I just don't know if him subcontracting it
yeah,
would make a difference.
It shouldn't. However, we're in the public domain, public sector, public view. If the safest alternative is to reject and rebid, then that's the safest alternative. It wouldn't take that long. I would feel more comfortable with that and I've done a lot of procurement, and I'm comfortable with proceeding the way it is because it was in the public domain. It's a sub job. It's a part of the overall service / installation. I wouldn't call it construction, but I understand where the town administrator is coming from. Without respect for the leader of the municipal staff, it's not a bad idea to reject and rebid, put it out to more companies. The Board of Selectmen has not officially accepted or rejected. They're the ones that have to do that. So even though we had a discussion and Lori said, we like it, that's not an official yes or an official no, because we can't get an official yes or an official no.
I think once we get beyond our existence, then it'll be much easier to be able to say, this is what we're recommending.
Yeah.
And here's all the work that,
Right.
whatever we are.
And I'm not,
Here it is.
right,
That's what we want you to buy.
right. And we took the safer path. I think when people look back on what we did, taking
Yeah.
the safer path is not a bad idea.
It's delayed, but we can absorb the delay.
Yeah, and I'm not like, okay, well, from Steve's point of view, it's like, oh, I gotta do this all again. So, I commit to work, I'm committing now to work with Steve more closely to, get it out to more people and help and making sure we work with Adam. And that was one of the items that did come up in one of those 3 Board of Selectmen meetings was, hey, folks, hey, Board of Selectmen members, I need someone to talk to in between at 9 to 5, in between Board of Selectmen meetings, in between EDIC meetings. And it finally came down to in the 3rd meeting of the 3 meetings that yes, And I didn't know until that third meeting that Graceland also does grant administration. I learned that from her report. And so it's like, she's my liaison, or at least our liaison as a committee, mine as the chair. Emailed her recently, and I think we're gonna get together within 3 or 4 business days. We have an appointment. I think we're just trying to line up if it's gonna be tomorrow. Graceland Currie, she's the grant administrator, grant writer for the community, works under Adam. And to quote Jeff Bennett, he said, well, Graceland works under Adam. Graceland would be a good person. After I mentioned, well, you know, what do you want me to talk to? And I mentioned Graceland and they said yes. So Graceland are going to meet shortly. It might not be a bad idea for Steve, you to piggyback on that meeting if you have time, but we can make it work with Graceland just to move it forward. Steve, how do you feel about rejecting and rebidding? I mean, you're the one that's been,
Well, I'd like to
Hearings-
do a little bit more research and talk to Adam about a couple more questions that I have with
Okay.
this and come back on the 9th. Are we still gonna meet on the 9th?
I would like to, because that would be the meeting
Yeah.
that we basically look at the quotes, and that would be the agenda heavy point on 6 PM on Monday, the 9th, would be, hey, look what came in, and Glenn owes you a report. Okay, we got quotes for 2 out of the 3, or 3 out of the 3, or 1 out of 3, and I might have to reject and rebid some stuff, or I wouldn't reject, I'm just saying. I might have to reissue procurement if we didn't get any bids all on something, if you know what I mean. So I owe you a report Monday at 6 as to what happened Friday, December 5, December 6th at 5. Yeah. Sorry, too many numbers, I apologize. So the quotes will come in 5 PM this Friday. I owe you a report on this at Monday, the 9th at 6 PM on what happened.
No,
Yeah,
switch
Vicky.
if we're still on signage, happy to go back to, my member comment will be that I cannot make the 9th after all because of a work obligation.
Okay.
So if we could move it, that would be awesome.
Okay, well, now that we're not until the Board of Select, because we were gonna do that, because I was gonna go to the Board of Select on the 11th.
I was thinking that this will work out nicely, actually, that your new plan.
You know, we're under board comment members. If we all want to get our calendar and look for another date right now and time,
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Is it all possible we can meet before the holidays kick in for Hanukkah,
Totally.
Christmas and Ramadan and Kwanzaa and all that stuff? Out of
We
respect
had a
for
meeting
everyone's
set for the
affiliation.
18th that was canceled.
What about the 18th, Steve? I'm
We
sorry.
had a meeting set on the 18th that we canceled.
Okay,
Next week is pretty booked up at night.
the 18th, okay. I think we're all flying through our calendars to see what's going on, right?
Mhm.
That's a Wednesday. So, okay, let me just go down. Vicky, is the 18th at 6 PM okay with you?
Yes,
What are we talking about? We'll talk about the 18th, we'll talk about 6 PM for an EDIC meeting, but not on the 9th, right? Steve, how are you? I'm sorry,
You said 18th?
18th was
Oh.
suggested by Steve of December. Are we,
That's a no for me. I have a medical procedure. that day.
okay, all right. And let's just finish the poll. Were you okay, Steve, for the 18th at 6?
I believe so. Hannah, how's the 18th?
No one else has booked that date yet.
Okay, can we back up to the 17th and 16th? I'm just gonna throw out some other dates and see what's around. Yeah, you have the meeting calendar in front of you, right, Steve?
Yes,
So the Templeton?
you'd have to meet earlier. We have
Okay,
conservation on the 16th and Board of Health on the 17th.
and what times are those meetings? on the
Board of
16th?
Health isn't until 7 on the 17th, so you'd have some more time,
So the 17th at 6?
or 5.
Okay, Vicky, how are you on the 17th at 5 or 6? Let's start there.
I'll just have to take it from the car.
Okay. So 17th at, I forgot what time I just said, 5 or 6?
I think you said 5 or 6, so 6,
Oh.
5, 6, 5:36, if that's okay.
When could you be in person? Would 6 o'clock you be here in person or only be the car?
I wouldn't be
Either
able
way.
to be in person till 7:30, so I think.
Which we wouldn't be able to because there's another
Right.
meeting. Mike, how are you on the 17th at,
I think I'm all right.
let's just say 6, because I threw out way too many numbers.
Okay.
Well, sorry,
No, go ahead, Steve. I was just gonna ask you to talk.
you're gonna have to have a half hour
Mm-hmm.
so we can change over. So if you're gonna meet at 6, you're done at 6:30.
So can I say 5:30? Mike, are you okay at 5:30 on the 17th?
I should be able to make it.
You're by the car, Vicky.
Yep.
Steve,
I'm set. Yeah,
and I'm okay on 5:30 on the 17th. And just to complete the poll, how's everybody starting with Vicky? How's everybody on the 16th at 6 PM?
can't do it.
Mike's shaking his head. We just covered that, didn't we? I apologize.
Coming back from up here.
Okay, so 17th at 6 right now is the leader.
5:30.
At 5, I'm so sorry, at 5:30 PM. That's right, Steve. We need that hour because you need a half-hour transition, right? So that's 1 week after the 9th plus a day. So instead of the 9th, add 8 days, so the 17th at 5:30 PM. So I'm gonna make a note. Okay, first of all, are we okay to meet on 5:30 on Tuesday, December 17th as an EDIC committee to do with the procurement, the quotes and so on?
I just checked. Hannah, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go consensus poll. So Vicky, you're good. Steve, you're good. Mike,
17.
double checking 5:30 on the 17th. You're okay, and I can make that work. So
And we're doing this out of necessity.
for the procurement, it's,
Okay,
I'd like to do it
okay.
before the holidays.
Got it.
Otherwise, we'd
No,
have to
you answered my
squeeze in,
question.
okay. Yeah, but BOS is the 8th. I'm just trying. So I'm making a note, GE email Lori to cancel 6 PM on 12/9 and to post the 5:30 on 12/17, which is a Tuesday, for 1 hour to deal with procurement quotes of the procurement, all procurement related stuff, basically. So we have the ED plan solidified. We should revisit the signage. Steve, you have some more questions you want to get right with Adam,
Mhm.
and then come back to us on the 17th. So I'll make sure that basically anything that's got to do with procurement, grant contracting will be on the agenda, and I'll mention the 5 things on the agenda, so everything's fair game and it's properly posted. I don't see anything else coming up, honestly. So we've got 60 minutes to discuss acceptance of the minutes for tonight. Do that thing, board member comments, and then go.
Okay.
Deal?
All right,
Deal.
apologies all for having to move it. Thank you so much.
No, it's okay. No. I mean, we need to communicate because life happens. I mean, it's okay. So I'm gonna make another note that the agenda. This is how government works, folks, right? On the agenda on that night, what did I say? Minutes?
Yeah, man.
So the grant management / procurement / contracting for all items to A, B, C, D, and E. 5 services we're talking about. Oh, there's a public comment thing. We always try to do at the beginning, public comment, right? And then, so 1, 2, 3, and then 4 will be board member comment. And then 5's adjournment. Deal? We have an agenda? Okay. This saves a lot of emailing. Sorry about that painful 5 or 10 minutes from my point of view. All right. So we actually kind of took care of number 9, but did we have anything under board member comments or signage? Steve, I'll start with you.
I'm all set.
You're good now. Board member comments, Vicky, anything else?
All set.
You're all set. Anything else?
I'm all
Non-signage?
set, thanks.
Mike, anything else?
I think the only thing I'd like to reiterate is, we're, I don't think we've ever been in a position where we were trying to mislead the public or otherwise. I think we've always been genuine. No matter how we got here, no matter where else we sit or otherwise, I believe in the mission that this was created for. And if we have to be shoulder to shoulder and, make sure, I understand that if there were different interpretations on what you were at various stages along whatever path, but there was no subterfuge to say we're trying to do something ahead of what the town's expectation would be. A lot of the work that we've done is trying to organize and set up our framework, understanding that plan is the green light or the red light to be able to execute different things that can make the community, everything that 121 sees. So, I mean, my comment is for anyone, I know we get comments on there, anyone that's out there that's still upset or we're trying to do the right thing, or we're trying to do the right business by the town. I'm the chair of the select board, and I know that it's been confusing for me, for the board, for people in the community to be able to say, well, how do you interact or otherwise? I say this, the board's got to come up with what the direction is going to be. if you declare that we are a zone of economic hardship or otherwise, great. How do you want to proceed along that path? If we got off the path and we had a different interpretation, okay, we're sorry. We want to get there, but I think the board needs to be able to say, let us refocus and make sure that you are what we tell you that you are. And if they need to adjust things or otherwise, let's do it. Let's get it right. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I have no comments other than to say I can't top that. I think it's well said, very eloquent, and I think that's a great segue to adjournment. If anybody else.
So moved.
So there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
About what time is it? So I can just make a note for Lori.
It's 18:54, 6:54.
You have to adjourn, you're out of room on your paper.
I know. So well said.